You don't know what this is, do you?
It's a pirate medallion.
This is Aztec gold. One of 882 identical pieces they delivered in a stone chest to Cortez himself. Blood money paid to stem the slaughter he wreaked upon him with his armies. But the greed of Cortez was insatiable. So the heathen gods placed upon the gold a terrible curse.
Yes, hello everyone, welcome back to another meme video where I talk rubbish and you guys are relatively entertained for 10-15 minutes of your lives. Okay, so what are we talking about today, boys and girls? So I have a question for you all watching at home, and I think it's a question that has come up time and again, especially if you look, just Google, is Warhammer too expensive? You know, you put that into YouTube, you'll see hundreds and hundreds of videos. And I don't think it's a case of, is it too expensive now? I have a new question that I want to ask on this subject, and it's, at what point does it become too expensive and it just isn't sustainable, right? Okay, so with the return of Warhammer the Old World, we've seen the return of the Tomb Kings, fantastic faction, and we've seen return of models that haven't seen production for something like 20 years, right? So we've got the Tomb Kings Skeleton Warriors / Archers kit, because famously the Skeleton Warriors kit came with the option to actually give them bows, which was a wild innovation at the time. This kit is ancient. This kit was made in like 1993 or whatever, and for whatever reason, they've decided to do it as a big box of 36 models for $47.50, right? It's not £50, and I think it's not £50 for a very good reason. Because £50, there's something about seeing that number that just triggers something in people where they look at it and go, that's too much. For a basic regiment of models, that is far too much money, right? Especially when you look at these guys, and don't get me wrong, I've made the original skeletons when I was a kid. Like, I know this kit inside out. I love the tombstone. I love the different skulls. I love the fact they give you a little goat skull in there with a different choice of horns if you want pointy or curly, right? Just to have like a weird demon skeleton. Why not? Right, it is a good kit, and it came with a wonderful optional sort of upgrade sprue, as it were, for the Tomb Kings with the bows and like commander arm choices, or one told the standard, and the actual shield and standard and command sprue, as it were. So the weird thing is, it comes with 4 on a sprue, so one sprue makes 4 guys, a regiment of 20, that's 5 sprues, bosh, there you go, that was the product back in the day, 5 sprues, 20 bases, 15 quid or whatever it was. It wasn't a lot, and I know you get the whole like Mandela effect, like YouTube video people, or Mandela, or however it's pronounced, Nelson Mandela effect videos out there where it's like, is it actually what you remember, or is it rose tinted glasses and looking at modern rates of inflation and blah 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 blue think money's not the same as it was 20 years ago and blah blah blah. I don't care about any of that. At the end of the day, it's expensive now with the money that we have now, let alone for the fact that they are old models for nearly £50, right? But what this does is give us a wonderful jumping off point for this video, which is, how expensive do Warhammer kits need to get for the base, not like the special characters and the tanks and the Primarchs and the cool stuff, but like the basic guys, the dudes, the people with the swords and the shields and the spears or the bolt guns, who are just there to die in droves because it's a mass battle game, whether it's 40k with Space Marines or Warhammer Fantasy with the Empire, whatever it is, you've got lots and lots of people on the table, right? How expensive does it have to get to buy the most basic guys before it's too much? Another way to phrase this question is, a tactical squad of Space Marines right now, as you can see, costs £35, right? What happens if we wake up tomorrow, or in a year's time or 2 years' time, and a tactical squad of Space Marines is now £50, right? £5 per model, and there's 10 guys in the box. At what point is that no longer acceptable, right? At what point do you look at the cost, or the rampantly increasing cost of Warhammer, and go, I love the models, but I can't do it. I can't justify this, right? And I know tactical squads might be a sore point for some people, because these days it's not a tactical squad, is it? It's a Primaris Intercessor squad with bolt rifles and the Mark 10 armour and blah, 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 blah. You know, all that rubbish. But the fact of the matter still remains. How expensive does this have to get for you to have to tap out, right? At what point are GW pricing themselves out of the market? Because I know a lot of people already will say, well, that's happening right now. We're already seeing people unable to actually afford to play this game and just go, you know, I love the models, but that's it, I'm done. Like, I cannot buy any more new stuff, so I'm not going to. I'm going to play with what I got, and that's fine. At what point is this no longer a hobby that anyone can realistically keep up with, because it's just too, you know, no matter how nicely designed it is too expensive for what it is. And I suppose one way we can kind of do this, using the Tomb Kings as an example, well, using the Space Marine tactical box as an example, right? So every time you go to the Games Workshop website, for whatever reason, it asks you to check your location, right, where you live in the world. So if we set America as a classic example and go, right, Space Marine tactical squad, in America they're already dealing with them being 50 quid. They are $60 in America, right? That's not nothing. Now, I know there are differences between the strength of the dollar versus the pound, but that's the thing, guys in America, how does this make you feel? When you see a squad of 10 guys and it's $6 a model, right? Does it have to get to 70 or 80 or $100 before you're like, it ain't worth it for little plastic guys? I you know, love the models, love the design, can't do it, too expensive. What about everyone's favourite South Pacific state, Australia? 76 Australian dollars. 76 Australian dollars for 10 guys. 10 guys. Is it worth it? $7.60 per model, right? Because this isn't a video about how things in the past were so much cheaper and oh, wouldn't it be great if models went back to being dirt cheap? This isn't a video about how, you know, you should get into 3D printing or get into Mantic war games because Mantic miniatures are so much cheaper, blah, blah, blah. It is simply about going, where is the ceiling in this hobby for the basic stuff? Because we're not dealing with characters, we're not dealing with vehicles, we're not dealing with centerpiece models or board games or the intro boxes or none of that. Just the basic guys on the ground. How expensive do they need to be before people go, can't do it? Just literally cannot do it, can't justify the cost. And one wonders if the reasons why Australia and America have to pay so much is because they are markets that allow Games Workshop to test the waters on price increases at the end of the day. So maybe this is a perfectly justified price increase. How do you feel about that, Australians? What about in Canada? Canada, $70. 70 Canadian dollars for a tactical squad. That's a lot of money. What if it was $80? What if it was $90? What if a basic squad of Space Marines was 100 Canadian dollars? How does that make you feel? Because ultimately this is what we have been sleepwalking into for the last 10 years, 20 years. We justify it if we find Germany here to represent the euro. We justify it with cost increases, inflation, cost of living crises, stronger economy, stronger eurozone versus the pound, post-pandemic, post-Brexit, on it goes. Okay, great. Hey guys in Europe, you're paying nearly €5 per model. How does that make you feel? That's nearly 50 euros for a box. How does that make you feel? Because that's not a small amount of money, is it? I don't know what a weekly shop is, how much it costs for you guys individually in America or Europe or Canada or wherever, But I know when I look at the prices of models and how they continue to increase, and once we find that ceiling, they're never going to go back, are they? Let's be honest here, man to YouTube. Once they find the absolute limit that they can increase prices to, they're never going to reduce them, because why would they? Games Workshop have for the longest time sold themselves as the luxury product. They are the wine warehouse where you have to buy a minimum of 6 bottles if you're going to shop there. You can't just buy one. If you're going to do that, go to your off license, right? They are the fishing tackle hobby of the hobby world. At what point does it stop being the conversation of, you know, it's actually really cheap to get into Warhammer when you compare it to all these professional sports? And, you know, you have to spend hundreds of pounds to get a fishing rod or golf clubs or club memberships or whatever. At what point does it stop being that? And it's actually, Warhammer's really cheap when you compare it to, you know, owning a yacht or going on holiday in the Bahamas, right? At what point is it just too much? And, I mean, if we just go back to the merry old Blighty for a minute, £35 for 10 guys. The sad thing is, I look at my disposable income now, and, you know, for a birthday, I could justify it. And yet, interestingly enough, if you were to rewind the clock to 2020, and I was talking about Mark III Iron Armour Space Marines that now no longer exist, when a 10-man squad was £30, yeah, I couldn't justify that then. And that was a difference of, what, 3-4 years? Because we're just entering 2024 now. They know that with economic growth and prosperity, they can sell you anything. You have to decide for yourself when enough is enough. I know for me, realistically, it could go to 40 quid for a box or 50 quid. I'm already done. I'm already out. I can't afford this, you know. Not like I used to be able to. Not when it was 5 guys for like 6 quid in a combat squad, right? How much more expensive does it have to get before you tap out? You guys tell me in the comments down below. I'm genuinely interested, because I know for a lot of people, the arguments are simple. They go, well, these are modern models, and you know, you've got to pay the designers and the work teams to manufacture this stuff, and yada, yada, yada. Yeah, that doesn't hold a candle when your models were designed in the 90s, right? Because all that's been paid off in spades. The moulds have all been, you know, just kept in cold storage for the last 15 years. So they don't exactly have to worry about those costs, right? This is just pure profit. There is no shadow of a doubt. Because the material costs are nothing by comparison to make these guys. There is no further design that goes into this. These kits are established, they're made, they're done. Everything about the look is there from day one. They don't have to worry about it. There is no cost. This is just profit. So go on, you guys ever think about it? Tell me what you think in the comments down below. How expensive does it have to get before you say no? Does it have to be literally 10 guys, 50 quid, then you say no? It's an interesting thought. Because we always look at the old versus new. Things were so much cheaper in the past. I can't imagine why it's so expensive now. But, hey, such is life. Alright, thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next episode. Goodbye. Goodbye.